Hello, everyone. Welcome to another segment of NSE Study Break. I'm Felicia, and today our guest is Joel Marcus, and he is going to tell us about the Alaskan dive semester. So first and foremost, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview, and welcome to the NSE Study Break segment. And
Wonderful.
yeah,
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And the first thing I want to ask you is what university are you from? And if you could just basically tell us about the program and what it's like.
Absolutely. So my name is Joel Marcus. As was mentioned, I'm a fisheries professor at the University of Alaska Southeast. And so we're located, our college is located in Southeast Alaska, and our campus is in Sitka, Alaska, which is a little coastal town right on the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific Ocean. And so the program, the NSE program that we're talking about, is a semester intensive program that we have developed that focuses on scuba diving and specifically training students to become research or scientific divers. And so what we do is we bring a cohort of students to Sitka in the spring semester. Typically in the middle of January, students show up here in town. And then we take people that have not only never scuba dove before, but we've even had a couple of students who haven't seen the ocean before coming and participating in our dive semester. And so the Alaska dive semester is basically a semester-long suite of courses that takes students from everything, all the way from no experience. We teach them how to scuba dive. We teach them how to dive in a dry suit because the water's cold up here in Alaska. Then we teach them how to rescue or some rescue skills so that if for some reason there was some kind of an emergency, they could respond to those things. And then once they've got all of this diving and rescue training, we kind of take a break from scuba diving for about 2 weeks. And we focus on, everybody knows scuba diving takes place in the ocean. Here in Alaska, we need to use boats in order to access a lot of the dive sites that we use. And so we teach students how to operate small boats in coastal waters. They get an outboard maintenance course, a 1-credit outboard maintenance course, and then also a cold water survival class that makes sure that if for some reason there was some sort of emergency, that students knew some of the skills and techniques in order to stay safe and be safe out on the water. And then we kind of come back and we start teaching a lot of the heavy scientific diving skills. How do you actually count organisms underwater? How do you enumerate populations? How do you create maps? How do you safely move scientific equipment from the bottom of the ocean up back to the boat? And so there's a whole variety of things that we do there. And then the students participate their final 3 weeks in an internship that involves a number of different research projects all around Sitka and kind of all around this area. Everything from, doing abundance estimates of organisms to we have participated in a harbor cleanups to even doing some photo documentation of various organisms. And so it is a very tightly packed curriculum that is exciting and engaging, and students not only get to learn all the fun diving things, but to also get to participate and spend time in the beautiful community that we have here, the small community of Sitka, Alaska. And so we think it's a great opportunity and a very exciting experience for students. And the students that have participated feel the same way as well.
Wow, that does sound really exciting. And there also does sound like there's a lot of different things to do. And I know you mentioned that it's a cohort. So do the students all take the same courses together, or is there any flexibility to take something different if people have different majors?
Yeah, and so we have students with a variety of different backgrounds that come into the curriculum. Some students already have dive experience, and so they don't need to take some of the early on courses that we offer. But the other piece to that question is, yes, absolutely. We have a number of kind of unique classes here. We have a great art program that teaches things, teaches pottery. We have a welding shop that teaches welding. We have some pretty amazing biology courses offered through either our campus or our sister campus that is very close by. And so a number of students take a number of different courses in addition to some of the courses that we offer through the dive semester.
Oh, okay. So that's really cool. And is there a limit or a cap to the number of students that can do the program?
We have been capping the course just because equipment is, kind of a limiting factor. And then also in order to safely teach students in the water, we've got kind of limitations there. And so we've been accepting 15 students each semester, and we kind of have an application process. And basically it involves reaching out to us early and trying to show interest. And then we kind of communicate and walk students through that application process. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So I know you mentioned that some students come who've never seen the water, and then some students come who are already like really involved in diving. So for students who do get into the program who've never seen the water, are there any prerequisites or anything that you all teach them, just to make sure that everyone has a basic foundation understanding?
Yeah, and so one of the things that we try and encourage students to do before they come is spend a little bit of time in the pool. Scuba diving is, we need to swim in order to scuba dive, and so we have had students that are not the strongest swimmers, and they, we've been able to work with those students and train them and get them through the curriculum and make sure that they meet the sort of requirements to pass their dive tests and their dive training. But we kind of encourage students to spend a little bit of time in the pool beforehand so that it's not completely foreign when they come here to Sitka.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That makes a lot of sense, especially so they can kind of be familiarized and not scared getting there for the first time and seeing water. So, since that the program obviously is for a whole semester, do the students live on campus? Do they live off campus, or do they do that independently, finding where they'll live at?
We don't have one particular housing option, but we do have a couple of great partnerships. And so one of the partners is there used to be a small college in this town that had dorms, and now they're operated through a nonprofit organization. And so we encourage students to check out those, but we've also had students that have found kind of housing on their own as well and moved into apartments or small houses and shared rooms and things. But it works pretty well. The sort of dorm situation that we have, where we have had typically most of our students have chosen that option and stayed in those dorm facilities. And it seems like it's worked pretty smoothly for both the students and the facility as well.
Okay, that's good to hear. There are a lot of housing options. So I know when you were talking about everything, you did mention a lot of things that sounded really interesting. But I guess my question is, are there any specific highlights of the program that usually are what draw people in, or are there any highlights of the surrounding area that you would mention for why people really should come to do this program?
I guess I would say, Alaska in general is a beautiful and amazing place. And I may be slightly biased, but personally, I think that Sitka is one of the more beautiful communities, having lived kind of all over Alaska. We're this small coastal community. There's about 8 to 10,000 people that live here in this community. And so we have just about everything you need as far as grocery store, internet, and movie theater and stuff like that. But then also it's a small enough community that you get to know people around town. And so the town is vibrant. It's consisted of kind of a fishing community, an arts community, and a tourism community. And so not only is the community beautiful, but the surrounding landscape. We've got a great deal of amazing trails that go up all the mountains kind of around town. There's great fishing opportunities. And so there's a lot for students to do outside of the diving curriculum that we teach them. And so on the weekends, if they choose not to be diving on the weekends, they're out running around and exploring the mountains and the snow-capped peaks all over Sitka.
Wow, that does sound really cool and really exciting. Okay, so my last question that I want to ask you is, and you kind of already have answered it, but I guess why would you recommend the program in general, and not just so much Alaska, but for people to get outside their comfort zone? Because I know living in South Carolina, we have nothing like Alaska over here. So, and then also as a former NSE student, you know a lot about how programs like this can really change people's perspective.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really good is, the dive training that we run through students through kind of forces them to be responsible for themselves and responsible for their dive partners and their dive team as well. And so throughout the course, we're really kind of building on the students' leadership skills. And in the last part of the curriculum, the students are venturing off, into the ocean essentially all on their own. They're driving the boats, they're planning their dives, they're conducting their dives with little to no supervision. And so it's a unique experience. It gives me a lot of pride and joy when the students are ready to sort of embark and take off in that capacity. And I think it really helps the students grow as individuals as well, and they develop some of those leadership skills, all while doing it in a beautiful place that has a lot to offer as far as both that above the water and below the water opportunities.
Yeah, wow, that does sound so interesting. I'm sure especially for students who maybe that's their first time being far away from home, or as you mentioned, who have never seen the water, I'm sure it kind of does foster this like sense of independence. And like you said, steering a boat on your own, doing diving on your own. I'm sure that's a great way to kind of become an adult and just really get to know the world in a different sense. It sounds really cool. I wish I could do it. Honestly, if I wasn't going to graduate soon, I would like to go to Alaska.
Yeah, we're it's a fun program. It's a fun program for us to teach also. You know, we have our normal faculty jobs where we teach classes and we lecture students, but then to be able to take a break for a portion of the day and go spend time diving and instructing students in scuba diving and outboard maintenance and skiff operation, it's a lot of fun for us. And so we enjoy the curriculum as well.
That's so good to hear. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. And thank you so much to everyone who's watching. Whatever platform you're watching, make sure that you subscribe, like, follow, so that you can keep up with NSE Study Break. And hopefully you all can have the opportunity to be a part of NSE as well. And maybe you can go to Alaska and you can get to scuba dive. So until next week, see you all.